Hi, this is Remembering the Past with Corey Franklin, the show where we talk about people who've died recently who've had a profound effect on our history, our society, or our culture. Tonight we're going to talk about Larry Hagman. And Larry Hagman might have been the biggest television star in the world in the late 1970s and early 1980s. He died recently at the age of 81. Like two other people we've done this year, he was the star of two television series. But unlike Harry Morgan, he wasn't a supporting player in those two series. And in contrast with Andy Griffith, he was the star, but he wasn't the star just nationally, he was the star internationally. Larry Hagman was the star of the sitcom I Dream of Jeannie, which was popular all over the world, and then the nighttime soap opera Dallas, which was a mega hit all over the world. Larry Hagman was a nice Swedish boy born in Texas, in Fort Worth, and one of the things I'm going to concentrate on tonight was the formative influence in his life, his mother. His mother was perhaps the biggest Broadway star of the 1950s, Mary Martin, who was the lead in South Pacific and the lead in Peter Pan. Let's take a brief listen to a couple of Mary Martin's classics.
I'm flying, flying, flying. Look at me way up high. Suddenly, here am I. I'm flying. I'm flying, flying, flying. I can soar, I can weave, and what's more, I'm not even trying. Gonna watch that man right out of my hair. I'm gonna watch that man right out of my hair. I'm gonna watch that man right out of my hair. I better leave on his back.
It was Mary Martin who got Larry Hagman into show business, and here he tells the story.
She had something that you couldn't take your eyes off her when she came on stage. Charisma is what she had. And so she never really wanted me to go. Well, I guess she did. She asked me to go and tour with her in Annie Get Your Gun when she was touring around America in that production. And I said, no, I think I want to be a cowboy. I want to go down and live with my father, who I didn't know very well, in Texas. And she says, all right, whatever you think. And so I went to Texas, and I spent the last 2 years of high school in Texas, and I wanted to be a cowboy. So in the summers, I worked, I never saw a horse. And I worked digging ditches and baling hay. That's what I did in 110 degrees and at 35 cents an hour. And that was good money in those days. Finally, after 2 summers of that, I called up my mother and I said, Mom, I think I want to be an actor. Because I had learned that the more manual labor you do, the less you get paid. But what really did it is I got my high school play, and that's why this is so important for kids to try it in high school plays, get into theater that way. And I got my first laugh in a show that I didn't even know had laughs. And I got one, I got two the first night, and then, you rehearse for months for these things, you only play it twice. And the second time I played it, I got about a dozen laughs, because I had heard it. And so I called up my mom and I said, I want to be an actor. She said, well, get on the Greyhound bus and come on up to New York, and I'll try to help you. So I went to college for a year, studying drama, doing several plays, and learning how to do costumes and build sets, which I didn't think was part of acting. So I said, I think. And she helped me get my first job with a guy, an agent, who gave her first job in California. And it was in regional theater, in Theater in the Round, by the way. And I did 20 musicals that year. We rehearsed in the daytime and played at night. And I was an assistant stage manager, and I sang and danced, small parts, everything. I mean, it was the greatest education I ever had. And it tests you. If you're going to continue with this business, that's the way to start off, because that's the test of fire.
We're going to come back to Larry Hagman's relationship with his mother, Mary Martin, later. He actually had a spear carrier role in the touring company of South Pacific in London with her. He poked around in regional theater, then he got on early television, but he got his big break in one of the memorable movies of 1964. And it was a movie where he showed he could have been a great dramatic actor. He never did that much dramatic stuff. But in the 1964 FAILSAFE, about an accidental nuclear confrontation between the Russians and the United States, he plays the translator for the American president, played by Henry Fonda, right before the nuclear confrontation with the Russians begins. By his own admission, Larry Hagman learned a lot from Henry Fonda working on that movie, and here he talks about it.
FAILSAFE? Yes. Oh, yeah, that was my first film. I come from New York, and I was doing a play in New York, and the director came backstage to say, you want to play this part, or Buck, whatever it was. with Hank Fonda, and I said, sure, of course, why am I going to turn it down? And I did that film back there, and what's the other one that came out with George Scott? I Love the Bomb. Dr. Strangelove. Dr. Strangelove came out at the same time, and Columbia, which had done that film, bought our film and put it on the shelf for 2 years. So it didn't come out, and it was in competition with the Dr. Strangelove. And I thought that was going to be my ticket to Hollywood. And I came out here, but I got Jeannie anyhow, thank God. Didn't have to wait 2 years. It was FAILSAFE was it's kind of a classic now, isn't it? Yeah. That was my first one with Henry Fonda. He taught me a lot. Great guy.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Mr. President, I have ordered our long-range missiles to stand down from their alert. Only that part of our defense that has a chance of shooting down your bomber is still active. We do not think we have much of a chance. I know. And yet, this was nobody's fault. I don't agree. No human being did wrong. No one is to be blamed. We're to blame, both of us. We let our machines get out of hand. Still, it was an accident. 2 great cities may be destroyed. Millions of innocent people killed. What do we say to them, Mr. Chairman? Accidents will happen. I won't accept that.
Right after FAILSAFE, Larry Hagman's life was changed forever. ABC Television had created a sitcom based on the old bell book and candle about a man who marries a witch. They called it Bewitched, and it starred the beautiful Elizabeth Montgomery. NBC wanted to copy that, and Sidney Sheldon, who went on to become one of the most prolific novelists of the 20th century, ironically most of his books were about female empowerment, created a series called I Dream of Jeannie. Same theme, except Jeannie is a genie instead of a witch, starring the beautiful Barbara Eden in an outfit that didn't reveal her navel but was quite revealing otherwise, and Larry Hagman as the astronaut who frees her from the bottle she's trapped on when he lands on a desert island after one of his space missions. As I said before, I Dream of Jeannie was popular all over the world, and here's an Australian TV station interviewing Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman later to talk about I Dream of Jeannie.
In the mid-60s, America was aiming for the moon, and TV shows were coming along for the ride. Larry Hagman played Major Anthony Nelson, one of NASA's best and brightest astronauts. That was until he got into a little trouble with the bottle. Inside was Barbara Eden, a 2,000-year-old genie named Jeannie.
Jeannie, would you come in, please?
For Jeannie, it was love at first sight.
You love me.
Living with a love-struck Jeannie wasn't easy. Major Nelson started acting a little kooky. NASA psychologist Dr. Alfred Bellows was quickly on his case.
Captain, I'm going to be very honest with you. You baffle me.
Lucky Major Healy was there to help his best friend out of a few tight spots.
I feel terrible. I wish the roof would fall.
The real magic of Jeannie came from the chemistry between its stars, Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman.
No more tricks.
Oh, no, Master.
It all started at their first rehearsal.
Larry came over, and in between shots in my dressing room, we'd rehearse. We did that first scene. And I remember you telling me I scared you to death.
Really?
You don't remember that.
Honey, I can't remember what I had for breakfast.
Now they ask anything of thy slave, Master.
I really did the scene, you know, and she throws her arms around.
Oh, yeah, that scene.
Scared you to death.
When I found the bottle in the thing.
Right.
Yeah. How'd you like it?
I like it. I liked it.
So did the audience. And in those straight-laced pre-hippie days, Jeannie's racy outfit grabbed a lot of attention.
I thought it was very pretty. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked it a lot. I didn't, you know, people say it's a sexy outfit. It's not really. It's very mod. No, it is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I know.
And it's, in my mind, she was a tomboy.
Luckily, the audience thought otherwise.
But the fans did wonder when Major Nelson would drop his defences against a very determined Jeannie.
The whole thing was this guy who was square. I mean, here's this beautiful, gorgeous woman putting the make on him all the time. And he says, no, I have my career. I don't know what that meant. I mean, you know, you can't distract an astronaut, I suppose, but you did your best, honey.
Major Nelson finally married Jeannie in the 5th and final season.
I'd like to introduce you to my fiancée.
While I Dream of Jeannie was a product of the 60s, the show really became a hit as it ran in repeats through the 70s. It's even still going strong today.
I wish I had a swimming pool in my patio.
It's like 3 generations grew up with this. You know, the show's been on 42 years this year, I think. It has. 42 years. You know how many shows have been on the air that long?
Started out in black and white. They didn't give it much of a chance. Didn't have a very appealing theme song in its first year. Here's the first year theme song. But the chemistry between Barbara Eden and Larry Hagman caught on as sort of a space-age, sexy I Love Lucy.
I should turn thee into a serpent with 2 heads.
No, don't do anything you're going to feel sorry for.
I trusted thee. What manner of master art thou?
See, I appreciate everything you've done for me. Honestly, I do, but well, there's just no room for you in my life. I wish you'd take my shirt off, Jeannie. No, I mean, I wish you'd put on your own clothes. Thanks. You're just not Air Force, Jeannie.
For over 2,000 years I've been in that bottle. And then this hand released me. When I saw thy wise face, I cannot tell thee how much happiness thou hast brought to me. Ooh, thou must relax.
Jeannie, put me down. Jeannie, stop.
Now, is this not better?
Well, it beats going into orbit. How'd you get in that crazy bottle anyway?
Oh, a wicked and powerful djinn put me in there because I would not marry him.
You poor kid. It must have been wild in those days.
Oh, it was.
After the first season, they put it in color and gave it the more memorable theme song that everybody today knows. Larry Hagman's career stalled for a decade after I Dream of Jeannie, but in 1977 he was called upon to play in an evening soap opera called Dallas. He was called to play an amoral businessman named J.R. Ewing. It harkened back to the roots that he had in Fort Worth, where he could play the same type of character as the ruthless oilman that he saw growing up in Texas.
Oh, my daddy sure would be proud of me. Sitting here, drinking with you.
Your daddy was a good man. We cut a fine deal together.
That's what he used to tell me. He had very high regard for you, Mr. Ewing. Said you knew more ways to skin a cat than anyone he'd ever met.
Well, it is a tough business. When an opportunity presents itself, you just got to take advantage of it.
There I was, sitting around trying to figure out ways to build my own fortune. Out of the blue, you called. Sure seemed like opportunity to me.
You know, if you're smart, keep your eyes open and do what you're told, you'll find all kinds of ways to skin a cat.
Knowledge is a wonderful thing, Mr. Ewing. But so is a proper share of the pie. And we never quite set out what I stand to gain from all this. Aside from watching you operate.
What exactly do you want?
Well, I want to be just like you, Mr. Ewing. Successful, highly regarded in the oil industry, with a flourishing little company of my own, of course.
Didn't your daddy ever tell you how fair I was to my friends?
Yes, sir. In a fashion. But I never quite figured out why he died broke and you always rode high on the hog.
Your daddy lacked the killer instinct. He forgave those who transgressed against him. People just weren't afraid of him. And he overlooked old JR's golden rules.
And what might they be?
Don't forgive and don't forget. And do unto others before they do unto you. And most especially, keep your eye on your friends, because your enemies will take care of themselves. Oh, and one other thing. The oil business is a little bit like a poker game. It's good to get caught bluffing early on, because after that, somebody's going to call you when you got a winning hand. That is, of course, unless you're playing with somebody better than you. If I didn't know better, Mr. Ewing, I'd think you were giving me some kind of a warning. But you don't think I'd double-cross you? Oh, of course I do. I'd be disappointed if that thought hadn't crossed your mind already. You see, I wouldn't want to work with anybody who wouldn't turn a deal to their own advantage. I just want you to know I got my eye on you. You're everything my daddy said. And more. Here's to our mutual success.
Well, people loved it, not just across the United States, but internationally. At the end of the third season of Dallas, when they set up a whodunit cliffhanger of who shot JR, it became the second most watched television show in history after the final episode of MASH. By the way, it was JR's sister-in-law who shot him. Meanwhile, the whole time, Larry Hagman is skillfully negotiating behind the scenes for a huge contract with Lorimar Productions to continue doing Dallas because he's such a popular character. He knew they loved him, the show, and the theme song. After Dallas, Larry Hagman had more money than he knew what to do with. He could work when he wanted. He was a beloved character with a beachfront home in Malibu. Unfortunately, he had an alcohol problem. He had a liver transplant, but still he maintained a good sense of humor. He gave up alcohol. He decided to wear crazy hats all around Malibu. He decided he would never speak on Sundays. He would just whistle yes and no. So he became a beloved eccentric. But he always retained that special relationship with his mother. Here he is at an awards presentation with her looking on as he introduces an award for her.
My goodness. I taught her everything she knows. As she is the first one to admit. But she's very philosophical about this. At the height of my career, when JR got shot and he got recovered and everybody found out who did it, I asked Mother if she'd like to go to Las Vegas and see a friend of mine, Joel Grey. And so she said, okie dokie. So we went down there and we were staying in another hotel. And we got out of the hotel. We're going to go over to see his show. And there was only one taxi waiting out in front. And the taxi cab driver saw me and he jumped out and he says, JR, get in the car. My wife will never forgive me if you don't drive in my car. And I said, no, well, my mother's right here and we have a big party. And so she said, no, darling, it's all right. You go ahead. You get in that one. And so he said, yeah, I don't want her. I want you. So as we pulled away, I leaned out the window and I said, that's show business, Mama. So we got into the theater and we were halfway through Joel's show and he stopped and he said, I'd like to introduce a couple of my friends in the audience. And the spotlight came around and he says, this is Larry Hagman of Dallas. And everybody just gave me a very nice applause and it was super. And then he said, and now I'd like to introduce his mother, Mary Mar. And he just got that out, and they all stood up and applauded, and it went on for about 5 minutes, and she sat down and she says, and that's show business too, honey. Oh, my goodness. Well, I tell you, I'm really grateful for you, Mother, to have me, because otherwise, what the hell, I wouldn't be here, you know. And she's very proud to have JR for a son, and I'm very proud to have Peter Pan for a mother. Figure that one out. And we've only worked together once before in South Pacific. I was in the chorus of South Pacific, a little nepotism, but it's got me a long way. And she treated me exactly the way she treated everybody else, with love and concern and respect. And it made me understand why everybody who ever worked with her feels the same way I do. I'm so proud of you, Mother.
That's a nice note to close on. I want to thank my producer, Sid Tepps, and let's close with mother and son performing together an appropriate song, The Eyes of Texas Are Upon You.
Mother! 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 People are staring.
Those eyes of Texas are upon me
all the livelong day. Well, that is special.
Very